Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Magick Revolution. First, I just want to say that this whole idea of sort of using Patreon as a encyclopedia of magic, or what I'm going to be doing is writing an encyclopedia of magic that I want to eventually get published too. I've even shown the idea around to someone, and there's interest already in perhaps maybe even eventually turning it into an entire book that's published as an encyclopedia of magic. But I'm really excited about this just because it gives us a chance to cover everything. I want to do an entire section on just angels, and that's what we're going to start on as soon as we reach the very last tarot card. We're going to start a section on all the different archangels, what they're used for, how to use them. Our angels for days of the week, angels for months of the year, angels for every horoscope sign, angels for elements, angels for storms, lightning, dust. There is an angel for pretty much everything that you can think of. And I've said repeatedly, when I started doing angel magic, everything else sort of started to lose interest for me, just because it's so incredibly powerful and it works so fast, and it's honestly also just really fun to do. You love doing it. It's not like work. I want to do a section on magical tools. Everything from wands and pinnacles and chalices, cauldrons, what all these things symbolize, what they mean, what they would be used for. And then I told you last time about the personalities. Everybody from Aleister Crowley and the Golden Dawn to Raymond Buckland and the birth of modern day witchcraft. Like a who's who in the world of magic or magical history. Sounds weird when you say it that way. Magical history. Sort of like a course they would have to take on Harry Potter or something. So that would be another thing. But one thing I wanted to talk about today, before we do go on, I wanted to maybe devote a few episodes to the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram and the way I changed it and made it my own. But first, something that just came to my mind that Dave said that I should tell you guys about. We were talking about it the other night. He was over and we were sitting out here, just enjoying the night and relaxing. And he asked at one point, what's the difference? What do the terms low magic and high magic, what do those mean? Where do they come from? And the answer to that is, used to, like back in medieval times, even earlier, the only people who knew how to read and write and who had a basic understanding of any sort of education at all would be the really wealthy people who were going to live in cities. That's where educational centers were. That's where schools were, things like that. They were in cities. And cities, remember when we were talking about the tarot? When I was talking about military history and about how whoever has the high ground has the advantage? Well, that's why cities were built on hills, so that if you tried to attack a city, the city would have the high ground. You would be fighting an uphill battle. while all they had to do is rain stuff down on you. So cities, being on high places, that's where the educational centers were, and most ceremonial magicians would have come from cities. Witches, on the other hand, would have come from further out areas. You know, and they sometimes they probably weren't even called witches. You know, they would have been called healers or shamans in some instances. They've had a million different names in pretty much every culture in the world. But these would be people who didn't have a formal education, who didn't know how to read or write. So all of their magic would have been stuff that was handed down to them from their predecessor, the person who trained them, taught them. You know, it was a oral tradition. All the stories, all the lessons would have been passed on from person to person instead of learned, you know, through study. And you know, those people who lived in those sorts of in cultures and those environments wouldn't have had much money, and people without money always get pushed to the low ground, where if there's a flood or anything, that's the first place that's going to flood, is where poor people live. So that's where the differing terms of low magic and high magic come from. It doesn't mean, you know, high as in one's better than the other, or low as in one's worse than the other. It was really just sort of named after the places and the cultures where they originated. You'll also find, strangely enough, the vast majority of ceremonial magicians are usually men. And the vast majority of neo-pagans or witches or Wiccans or, you know, whatever umbrella you fall under is usually going to be women. So it's also, in a way, you know, it's sort of like two halves of a whole. If you look at it in that regard, you've got the masculine aspect of magic and a more feminine aspect of magic. That doesn't mean, you know, only men can practice ceremonial magic and only women can practice witchcraft, anything like that. It just means that one... You know what? This is another thing that we should probably go into at one point when I'm talking about things that are masculine and feminine. It doesn't mean male and female. It's an entirely different thing, because a lot of these concepts don't have gender, which is something we'll get into with the angels also. You know, just because you'll hear me refer to certain angels as he or him, and I refer to other ones as she or her, but in all actuality, angels are androgynous. They don't have sex organs, period. They don't need them because they don't exist on the material plane. The reason I give them those pronouns is because their energy is either a more masculine oriented or feminine oriented energy. You know, just like when we're talking about the elements, fire and air being masculine, water and earth being feminine. It's the same way in planetary magic, angel magic, anything, all of it. It's divided into masculine and feminine energy types. Yin and yang is what it equates to in Oriental Asian philosophy. Okay guys, I'm going to wrap this up and I'm going to get started making notes for our next big video podcast, which it'll be where we start on the angels. And I haven't quite decided yet which ones we should start with. So let me know under this, or either send me a message or leave a comment or something telling me, would you rather hear about, angels associated with, you know what? Don't even do that. I know what we should probably start with. We should probably start with the archangels on the tree of life, since those are the ones that are the most closely associated with the work that we're going to be doing. Those are the ones we should start with. Those will also start to give you a introduction to some of the angels that we'll be working with whenever we do the technique that I came up with, which I was calling the Celestial Lotus, which is like sort of an even more powerful version of the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram. But that'll give us a lot of these topics you'll see as we go forward weave in and out of each other. They overlap. But okay, hopefully I'll get it up in just a few days. Until then, I hope you guys I hope first that you're getting to experience some of this cool weather that we're getting here, and that you're enjoying it. Secondly, I think autumn is going to be amazing this year, guys. And we'll get to sit here and you'll get to see the trees behind me. The leaves will all change colors and start falling down. It's going to be amazing. Okay. Hope you guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.